right, guys, we are starting with our hybrid week 4 on Wednesday. So if you click the week 4 folder and you click today's folder, September 23rd, we are going to get started. So we are going to go over our warm-up and then we're going to walk through our Cricket Chirp Lab assignment for today. You click on today's warm-up, you need to answer the question, what do you think causes a cricket to chirp faster? Air temperature, humidity, wind speed, or atmospheric pressure? Take a couple minutes to answer that. Put your answer in your warm-up document. You can write this in as a problem question or a hypothesis. So you could say increasing air temperature will cause a cricket to chirp faster. Does a change in humidity cause a cricket to chirp faster? Things like that. Once you have your warm-up answered for today, you are going to go back to our Wednesdays folder and you are going to click on the Cricket Chirp Lab assignment. Here you will need to make a copy of your lab document and then we are going to go through what that assignment is. So, on your screen you should see a copy of the lab document. And it's going to look like this, and it's going to say, can crickets tell the temperature? The next thing you're going to do is on your document, click the Scientific Method Cricket Lab link, and that's going to open it up in a new tab. And I suggest that you split your screens so you don't have to click back and forth. So our lab today is going to be testing different variables for to see if a cricket chirps faster or slower when we change something in its environment. You should also see your lab setup where it says scientific method and begin. If you don't, you may have a screen that says Adobe Flash. You will need to allow that to run in order to play the simulation. Once you're ready to begin, you're going to click the begin button and then click on Cricket. This will bring you to the introduction and you're going to click on next to move through the screen. We're going to first set up our problem and it's going to give us a scenario. On several hikes in the White Tank Mountains, you have come across the same noisy cricket. Now you have a question, what mountains are you visiting in this lab? So here is where you will find your answer. You're going to then click through, and every time we hear the cricket, we record our information and make some observations. So on your lab document, you're going to record those observations for the date and time that is given. You're going to continue to hike this area, and several months later, you hear the cricket again. And this time, it's at a different time, and there's a different chirping speed. Record that information, and then click Next. And you're going to find him a third time at a different time, and you're going to again see a different chirping speed. You decide to take the cricket to your lab, and so now you need to define a problem that can be investigated scientifically. On your lab document, you're going to take a minute and answer the question, why would taking the cricket back to the lab help in designing an experiment? Now, when we went over our independent and dependent variables worksheet yesterday, we also added in the constants or those controlled variables that we keep the same to try and help eliminate error in our experiment and so that we can focus on the one independent variable we are changing. Think about this in the same situation, taking the cricket back to the lab. How does it help us control that situation? Once you have that question answered, we're now going to define a problem. So you're going to go back to your lab simulation and click Next. And you're going to choose one of the problems listed and type in that problem statement in question 9's box. Once you click on that, you're going to click Next again. And the simulation is going to provide you with some facts and information about crickets and why they chirp and how they chirp. The next thing you are going to do is create your hypothesis. Based on the problem question you set up, please take a minute and type in your hypothesis. Remember, it should be an if-then statement. Once you have your hypothesis written, we are going to be testing our variables. Now, I want you to test specific variables. So the first one we're going to test is the air temperature. Once you select air temperature, all of your other variables need to stay constant. So we are going to click no. And then we're going to set up our experiment. You're going to keep clicking through the information until you get to this page where you have your air temperature as your independent variable, and now we're going to test it. You are going to complete a total of 5 trials for this experiment, testing the air temperature and how it affects a cricket chirping. So your range is between 5 degrees Celsius and 45 degrees Celsius. You're going to choose a number, type it into the box, and then click next and let the simulation happen, and then record your information. So your temperature selected was 10 degrees Celsius, and then the number of cricket chirps was 40. So I'm going to fill that out in my chart on my lab document, and then I'm going to click next again. And yes, I want to repeat the experiment with a different air temperature, so I'm going to click yes and click through next, and then change my air temperature. So whatever you want it to be, as long as it's between that 5 and 45, you're going to complete that for the full 5 trials. You're going to record your information. And then once you do the 5 trials, you're going to click no. And it's going to ask you if you want to repeat your experiment with a different hypothesis. This time you are going to click yes because we need to change our variables. You're going to click next again as you go through, and it's going to pull up the variables list. This time you're going to test the humidity. We are going to test 2 other variables in this experiment to collect data and then compare it and see what variable is actually causing a cricket to change the amount of times it chirps. So this time you're going to click on humidity. And again, we want to keep all our other variables the same. So you're going to click no, click next, and then we're ready to perform our experiment. And this time our humidity can change between 10% to 80% humidity. So you're going to select 5 different levels of humidity again. You're going to click that and let it run. And then you're going to record how many times our cricket chirps. And you're going to click next. And then again, repeat that 5 times. Once you have that done, you're going to click no. And then it'll ask you if you want to repeat the experiment with a different hypothesis. And you will click yes. We're going to go back to our variables list. And this time we're going to click wind speed. Again, all our variables should remain the same. So click no. And we're going to perform our experiment testing wind speed. And on your lab document, you are going to record that data for this 3rd variable. So this one is between 0 and 7 meters per second. You're going to choose a wind speed and then record your cricket chirps. This last one you're going to do 5 times again. And once you have your 5 trials, you're going to click no. And then at the end of this, when it asks you if you want to repeat the experiment with a different hypothesis, you are going to click no. Now you are done with the simulation. You are going to move to your lab document, and you have some analysis statements you need to write. So the first one is write what you noticed about the information for each variable you tested. This is just an explanation of the data you collected and how it changed. Then the second question is, what does this evidence show you, and can you make a conclusion? You should be able to make a conclusion at this point because the evidence showed you what specific independent variable causes a cricket to change in the speed that it chirps. The last question then is to finish the lab by writing a conclusion paragraph. In this conclusion, you're going to include a description of your experiment. So what did you do? What were we testing? The independent variables should be identified. So what all did we change and how was that tested? And then the dependent variable data that was collected, you're going to explain your results, which variable changed, what didn't, and why. And then your last part is going to be what you determined based upon your study. So does your data match up with your hypothesis? Did the variable that you pick confirm what changes cause a cricket to chirp faster or slower? And would you make any different changes? Once you are finished with this, you're going to go back to Schoology and submit this Cricket Lab assignment. A couple things I wanted to add was that if you don't get this lab all done, you have through tomorrow, and it's actually not due until Friday. So if you need a couple days to finish this, you can. You should be able to get it done tomorrow, but if you need Thursday or Friday as well, please take that time. If you have any questions or something isn't working, please email me. But otherwise, good luck with your lab, and I hope you were able to collect some good data.